Hey guys, Cam for 15, back at it with another video for you guys. Back talking Chicago Bears football. Yes, you thought you were done with me yet. No, not yet. Not yet. We got a lot to talk about here. Again, the Bears should be playing and should be preparing for a game against Seattle, but it just wasn't meant to be this year, so hopefully we can try our luck again next year and hopefully we can get to the championship game next year. But again, there is no guarantees that we get back to where we are. Very much we know with 2019 how that unfolded, but again, like I think I meant to mention in my season overview with my Uncle Daryl and even my last game recap, the difference is we actually have a head coach that is willing to hold players accountable, and we have a head coach that is also willing to understand his faults and understands that it can definitely be better. So yes, today the Bears had their end of the year press conference with Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles, and thank Christ that this press conference actually absolutely went well. Because the previous few years, man, it was just doom and gloom and like, oh, are you serious? What the hell are these guys freaking cooking up now? What lies are they trying to tell to the fan base of all this? Of the fact of, well, what are you going to do? You can't prove nothing because you don't get no benefit of the doubt. And I think we can say without a shadow of a doubt, this is probably one of the best years where one of the end of the year press conferences where you can get the benefit of the doubt to the Bears because they not only won the NFC North Championship, but they did get to the divisional round. And when you have a capable head coach in Ben Johnson, why doubt it? Why doubt it until it's shown we got to start having some doubts. And I know some Bear fans, I've listened to Chicago sports radio, some Bear fans who've been on the phone calls, have been complaining about Ben Johnson going for it so many times on fourth down and not taking the points. Yeah, there can be an argument made there. Should he have taken the points? Yes. But look, this is what we signed up for. You signed up for an aggressive minded head coach where, guess what? He wants to go down fighting. He's going to go down his way, and he is who he is. He hails from the Dan Campbell tree. So, what does Dan Campbell like to do all the time? He likes to go for it on fourth down. Ben Johnson is no different. These Bear fans clamored for Ben Johnson to come here, and then next thing you know, now you're hating the fact of, well, why is he going for it all the time on fourth down? Because guess what? That's who he is. He's an aggressive-minded head coach. Plain and simple. Now, can he get sometimes too aggressive? Yes. A little bit too aggressive to my liking. And again, there's lessons to be learned with these playoff games. For Caleb Williams, it's not turning the football over, giving teams a certain extra possession. For Ben Johnson, maybe not going for it as much as frequently in the playoffs like he did in these two games. Because you don't know if you'll pick him up. It's always a 50-50 shot. Because if you do pick it up, you look like smart. If you don't pick it up, well then you look like a failure. I think Ben Johnson will now learn and understand I got to pick my spots on when it's time to be aggressive and when not to be aggressive. And you can say, oh, he should have learned this from his time in Detroit. Well, he wasn't the guy that makes the final calls on to go for it or not. He's all he's told by Dan Campbell, hey man, get your best play ready. We're going for it. He's the guy that's final. So now I would hope that going next year, there's a guy in his ear, whether it's Declan Doyle or any of the other offensive minded coach, be like, hey coach, hey, I understand you want to go for it here, but like let's trust our defense here, or let's just take the points and let's move on. And I think going into next year, if we do make the playoffs and it's a critical situation, it's a first drive, get in the red zone, but it stalls out. I think even if it's a fourth and short situation, I think Ben Johns is going to just elect to take the point because he's going to learn from the Rams game. Those points matter because if you get to the end of the game, any simple mistake that you make, well, guess what? Another team has to find a way to overcome it. And we said it, and I said it time and time again. If one of the field goals where we didn't get on the fourth down or Roma Dunze catches the touchdown, You win a score by either 3 or 7, and you beat the Rams in regulation, and you advance to the NFC Championship game, and you're still playing. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Now, before I jump into the press conference and some of the snippets that Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles gave, um, we got to talk about some of the coaches. So it is confirmed. Eric Bieniemy, he ended up actually taking a job to go back to Kansas City. Predictable, mind you. I knew he would figure he'd go back to Kansas City, and he will be going back to becoming their offensive coordinator. It's absolutely hilarious, man. It's absolutely hilarious how this dude initially left Kansas City because time and time again, he was getting all these interviews to try to be a head coach. No team would hire him to be the head coach because they learned from the Matt Nagy's of the world. Like, we don't believe that you can actually do anything special because guess what? We know Andy Reid is the guy calling the plays. So, in some weird sense, he should be blaming Matt Nagy for his faults of why he never got at that time, all those years ago, a head coaching gig because these teams don't believe in this. There's always can be some skepticism when you hire an offensive coordinator who is a guy that didn't call plays. It's always a 50-50 shot. Can they do it right? And then at the same time, can are they good enough to be a head coach, not just a play caller? We've learned in one season, Ben Johnson is not just a solid to good play caller. He is a damn good head coach. He learned from obviously one of the main leading head coaches in Dan Campbell. For all Dan Campbell's faults, there's one thing you got to respect about Dan Campbell. He is a damn coach. And who did Ben Johnson learn that from? He learned it from, obviously, his mentor. There you go. So Eric Bieniemy is leaving the Bears to go be the offensive coordinator. It made sense. Clearly, the Chiefs' offense, as the years went on, started to decline a bit, even though it was clearly Andy Reid calling the play, but Matt Nagy was the offensive coordinator at the helm. You see why now they have no aspirations of wanting to even bring back Matt Nagy. They're let's say, hey man, you can go test your waters, right? This dude looked like he was going to be the leading candidate for the Tennessee Titans job, and it looked like he was going to probably get it. And nope, out of the blue, Robert Saleh ends up getting the Tennessee Titans job. And now you're seeing Matt Nagy. I saw a report Matt Nagy interviewing to be the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. I hope he gets it because that means the Eagles ain't going nowhere again either. And that would be great because I know we play the Eagles next year. It's great that the 49ers lost Robert Saleh. Good. Because their defense wasn't as good when Robert Saleh left them the first time. And I hope Robert Saleh is a good enough coach because if he fails in Tennessee, guess where he's going to probably go back to? He's definitely going back to San Francisco. Shanahan's still there. And guess what? He's going to be like what Dennis Allen is, basically a lifetime defensive coordinator. And he ain't going nowhere because no team's going to give a third shot head coach to a freaking defensive minded coach. But now you see that the Chiefs are willingly letting Matt Nagy walk because they're like, oh, no, Eric Bieniemy, we need you back in the building. Because that's the one thing Eric Bieniemy did. He may have not called the plays, but Chief players will went on record and say this dude got on our asses and he held our asses accountable. And he did not let it one bit. We fucked up. Oh no, he was not allowing it. Eric Bieniemy is the type of coach that is not going to allow you to do lackadaisical stuff and is not going to, make you, cheat the rep. He's going to get everything out as he possibly can. And I'm going to miss that type of coach, on the staff. And again, respects to Eric Bieniemy, man. He did his thing here in his 1 year here. He not only helped DeAndre Swift get over 1,000 yards rushing, but you can make the case he definitely helped develop Kyle Monangai to get to the point where Kyle Monangai is where he is because he pushed him. And that's something that you can respect about Eric Bieniemy. Now Kyle Monangai has something to go off on. And he knows he knows Coach Bieniemy tells me I got to go all the way. I got to go 100% speed. And that's the type of thing Eric Bieniemy provided to that running back room. Now who they get? No idea. I don't know who they get to be the running backs coach at all, but we'll definitely see where that is definitely going. And then most recently, Al Harris has been interviewing for positions. That was to be expected to be the defensive coordinator. So far, the only two teams that I saw was the Washington Commanders. We're going to interview him, and the damn rival Green Bay Packers interviewed him for the defensive coordinator position. Now, I hope altogether Al Harris comes back, but Ben Johnson did make a mention in his press conference because the question was asked about him potentially losing staff members, and Ben Johnson did say, hey, look, I'm all for these guys getting their interviews and things like that because I want them to go succeed and get their jobs. Now, personally, I understand the whole point, but I would have blocked Al Harris's interview to the Green Bay Packers. If he wanted to go interview for the Commander's job, that's fine. I don't know why he's blocking, but then again, he did play for the organization, so I guess it makes sense. Now, at the end of the day, it's up to Al Harris if he wants to take a position if it's offered to him. You know, the only thing the Bears can realistically do is say, "Hey, man, uh, come back here. We'll give you a pay raise, and maybe we'll give you a even higher title of what we can offer." But look, if he ends up taking another job, do I blame him? No, because what's the quickest way to getting a head coaching job? Be it a coordinator. And the question is, does he want to take a coordinator job? We'll see. It would suck for him to go back to Green Bay, but that's the thing. The least we can hope for, he goes to he goes to Washington. Washington offers him a D coordinator job. He goes to Washington or he goes elsewhere, not Green Bay. But my best case and hope and pray is nobody offers him the job. Other teams like other candidates, and he comes back to the Bears to be the defensive coach. Especially the fact that we got Zoff Frazier coming back, and apparently the reports say he was really high on him. And I see Zoff Frazier work with Al Harris and see him reach his potential, potentially. So that's another thing. And then another coach that the Bears ended up actually is going to be actually adding to the staff is Boston College offensive coordinator Will Lawling. He's actually going to be leaving Boston College to come over to the Bears. Now Lawling, he worked for the New England Patriots, Houston Texans, and he worked for Alabama. When you look at his track record, he's been under Bill Bryan the entire time. And then on top of it, he was actually teammates with Ben Johnson back at University of North Carolina. So it makes sense why he's joining the staff because he's friends with Ben Johnson. But from what people have been saying, he's mostly been like a tight ends coach and things like that. So whatever position he is, he might be like some sort of maybe offensive control system or offensive systems control type of coach. One of the coaches in the background to help out with the offense to make sure it's flowing correctly or something like that. I wouldn't envision he's going to be the running backs coach unless we find out that is the case. The media didn't ask him about that. The media didn't ask about Lawing in the press conference, which is like that's the name. But then again, Ben Johnson didn't talk much. He only talked for like 12 minutes, which I honestly thought the way they were going to do the press conference was like, oh, we saw in the past where it'd be like Ryan and Ben at one table together, but they basically made them go up one at a time. So yeah, but there's that. And then also too, Ian Cunningham also got requested to be interviewed for the Falcons GM position. Again, if you don't know, apparently there's some loophole that the Falcons are trying to do, so they don't have to have the Bears get three third round picks, but we'll see where that goes. I personally believe if Ian Cunningham doesn't get the Falcons GM job, then to be honest, it looks like he may not ever get a GM job at all. At that point, look, I'll take it. It will suck not to get the picks because like we definitely could use those those third round picks, but it is what it is. He's still another good mind in the building next to Ryan Poles. So you'll take that. You'll definitely take that, right? So that's the thing there. But anyways, the Bears press conference, like I made a mention earlier, I was happy with the fact that look, it felt different. There was actually some positivity coming out of the freaking press conference, and I was actually pleasantly happy coming out of the press conference. It hasn't been things like previous years where it's like you're watching the press conference and you know these dudes are just giving BS responses 100%. You're like, you guys are fucking lying. And I don't believe in this product. Today is the 1 year anniversary of when the Bears signed Ben Johnson to be their head coach. And on my Instagram page, I literally posted a story saying, this coach saved my Chicago Bears fandom. Because I was legitimately out the door. Like, I legitimately had no hope that this team was going to get it right and this team was going to turn it around and fix things around. And my fandom was going to be complete in influx. And my eye just might just be like, you know what, fuck it. I'm not even going to pay attention to these dudes. I'm just going to be living miserable as a Bears fan. And I said it before and I'll say it again. You get the head coaching hire right, you'll have successful teams year in, year out. Yes, so there are going to be bumps along the road. Are there going to be irritating moments? Yes, yes, and yes. But when you get the coach right and the coach has a standard, they'll be there. You'll be fine. Your organization will be fine. So I enjoyed the press conference today. Even Ryan Poles, albeit I like Ben Johnson's what Ben Johnson had to say more than Ryan Poles, because Ryan Poles still gives me when he talks to the media that like he don't want to be up there and he gets kind of nervous and things like that. I don't know compared to Ben Johnson, who's just still very stoic and very firm with his answers. Ryan Poles is kind of just like, well, yeah. Like, come on, man, have a backbone out there, bro. I don't know. It's like he gets up to the podium and he just gets all nervous, like he doesn't know what he's doing. Anyways, at least the Bears didn't have a shit show of a press conference like the Buffalo Bills did. My God. Jeez, if you watch the Buffalo Bills press conference, you had the owner basically taking over and just saying, no, 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 no. We fired the coach because of the game against Denver. When legitimately, if that was your only factor why you fired McDermott, well, then at that point, like, you probably should have kept him. It would have been more believable if the owner just had said, only reason why we fired McDermott was because time and time again, we kept getting close, but we never got over the hump. And we have too many times where we lost in the playoffs over this a long amount of time, so that's why we let him go. Because it was just, for us, it wasn't good enough. And we have too talented of a team, too talented of a quarterback to be able to keep losing. And then you have the Keon Coleman drama, where basically the owner basically just cuts into what the GM, what Brandon Beane was saying, and basically saying like, "Oh, yo, that was more of a coaching pushing thing. Our GM had nothing to do with it." And then next thing you know, you're getting freaking videos and clips about how Brandon Beane is talking like, "Oh no, we got to have this guy." So they're basically throwing Keon Coleman under the bus like he's a bum. The owner basically told you how he felt about Keon Coleman. He basically said, "This dude sucks." Hey, look, Keon Coleman was not good. He is definitely not. He has not lived up to where he was drafted. But my God, you cannot like Jesus. Like, don't be freaking obvious if you don't like the pick. Like, geez, just go out there and say, look, the kid needs to get better out there, and we're gonna, look, who we hire as a coach is gonna focus heavily to make sure he can hit the potential. So I'm glad that we didn't have the press conference like the Buffalo Bills, because my God, who would have thought that now the way you see that press conference handled, now you're like, well, maybe they should have not fired Sean McDermott. Damn, they don't look too good. They basically not only trashed Keon Coleman, they basically said fuck Sean McDermott. They threw his ass under the bunch, but under the bus easily, even though he was kind of the guy that turned the ship around for that organization. Because the Bills were a laughing stock before they got even Josh Allen. They were a laughing stock, and then they got into the playoffs the 1 year, and since then they haven't looked back. Like, geez, Louise, that's how you treat a coach that turned around your entire operation to make you guys an actual competitive team? Wow. That's certainly going to be a turnoff to some candidates. Because it's like, well, then, damn, if you feel like that, then what if I start losing? So there's that. But, anyways, let's talk about what the Bears. The Bears did. So, Ben Johnson, he basically came in. One highlight said, one of the good things that he did say, or one of the questions he did answer, because obviously the reporter had to ask about the DJ Moore catch and this stuff. And basically, Ben Johnson basically took onus on himself. He basically said any miscommunication between the two players falls directly on him, and said that, he needs to do a better job at coaching it better. I think, look, Ben Johnson did the right thing. He didn't really throw his players under the bus. He didn't throw Caleb under the bus. He didn't throw DJ Moore under the bus. You know, he basically took ownership of saying like, no, I got to communicate that better to my players in practice so they know what they're doing. Again, this miscommunication between Caleb and DJ, I don't know. Again, if you watched my last video talking about this whole situation with my Uncle Daryl, it's plain and simple. I personally blame it more on DJ Moore than Caleb Williams throwing a bad pick. Some people are gonna be like, oh, who are haters of Caleb Williams, are gonna say, oh well, he threw a bad interception. In my honest opinion, that was the right read to make. Now, personally, in that situation, I think Ben is gonna learn, hey, let's not call any damn deep shots to do this, especially in the overtime period, right? You got to weigh against it with the Packers, but we can't do it in this game, right? Not in the playoff game. So essentially, again, for people who don't know my take, if you're new, I blame DJ Moore because he ran a lazy ass route. Whether he knew what he was doing or not, there was a wide open space. The play was clearly drawn up to work. He should have done a better job. He should have sprinted. The least he could do if he didn't catch the ball, it's a pass breakup. But because he ran a lazy route, Caleb's throwing with anticipation. Expecting he's got to be there, and he's not there. That's the thing. And again, this isn't the first instance where we have not seen DJ Moore be lazy on routes. He did it a few weeks ago in the Detroit Lions game where Caleb Williams gave him a 50-50 ball to go up and go get it, and DJ Moore slowed down at the end of the route, and it led to the Lions picking that off, and he didn't even do anything to break up the pass or push the Lions defender and taking maybe an offensive pass interference out the way or doing anything to stop the interception from being thrown. He just stopped running and just like, whatever. You remember last year against the Cardinals, Caleb Williams was scrambling. DJ Moore's trying to come back to the ball, and I guess Caleb didn't see him. And then DJ Moore, I guess in frustration, just walked off the fucking field. And he just took a seat on the bench. And he was called out for that. There's various times DJ Moore has been lazy and he's ran lazy routes. And for that, that's not good. And Ryan Poles later addressed it, basically talked about it. He said he does respect how DJ Moore toughed the season out, but basically admitting like, look, they're going to evaluate every option. Every option's on the table. So we don't know if DJ Moore is going to be back. He is the top paid player on the team, and he's getting paid a lot of money, and his cap hit's going to be a lot. So, he could be traded next year. Maybe they rework a deal and give him one more year and say, hey man, we appreciate your toughness and your leadership, or we appreciate your toughness, but look, man, you got to be better. You got to give me 110%. And if you're not good enough to go out there, let us know and don't go out there. I'm going to need Antoine Randall L to hold his ass accountable. And it's even worse that even still now, DJ Moore has not talked to the media about this. Caleb Williams has talked about this. Ben Johnson talked about this. And the reporters did ask, like, hey, typically, he does talk to the media when he's but we haven't been able to chance to talk to him. And Ben Johnson said, well, we had a good talk in our exit interviews. So it's still not a good look that DJ Moore has not shown his face to the media and explained his side of the story. The least thing he could say is, I got to do a better job and I got to run through the route, and that is it. And guess what? Whenever he talks to the media, again, if he's still on this team and he talks to the media, number one, I 100% believe the media is going to ask him about that route from last year. And they're going to say, hey, man, what happened last year? I understand that's something that to do with last year, but that's the last time we saw you. We wanted to get answers at the time, but what happened there? It's just only going to motivate you to continue, maybe going all out for routes. And maybe, I'm not implying you're giving up on a route, but, maybe really hustling and playing and running through things like until the whistle's blown. Because that's how you're supposed to play. You keep running at 100%. You keep going 100% till the whistle is blown. And DJ Moore didn't do that. I know QB School JT O'Sullivan, He's been a very, if you watch his videos, he's been a very heavy critic of DJ Moore, and he has not liked what DJ Moore has done in terms of the way he just acts on the field and everything. And shit, even on that play, he called out Roma Dunze too, saying he didn't stress the defense enough to even hustle out of his go route, because if he did hustle, Caleb could look his way, throw it over the top. Maybe that's also another game sealer. And maybe that gets Cam Curl to follow Roma Dunze, which leaves DJ Moore open. So that's definitely going to have to be something in the wide receiver room that Antoine Randall L is going to have to stress to the receivers. Y'all better be running your routes 100% all the damn time. Because those little moments of jogging through your routes just to jog your routes, well, guess what? That's not one, not going to get you the ball. And two, that's going to create more issues. Ben Johnson also talked about how an emphasis for the receivers is needing to catch the goddamn football. And when he said that in the press conference, I was like, thank Christ he said that. And oh my God, you receivers are in fucking trouble. We saw in the playoff game when Roma Dunze dropped the ball near the sideline, and Ben Johnson on the camera, you can clearly see is like, catch the fucking football. So I think Ben Johnson has now had enough of the crap of these receivers dropping these passes that are simple passes Caleb's giving them the opportunity to make a play on the ball. And guess what? They keep dropping and they keep doing it. And guess what? You add them, if you get even half the drops they had that turn into completion, Caleb hits the 4,000 yard passer mark and he becomes the first Chicago Bears 4,000 yard passer. I think that's another reason why probably Ben Johnson also said that, because he knows if these players made these fucking catches, my quarterback would have 4K yards passing. Now that may have to wait another year because my receivers dropped the ball. And I think that's going to be a huge emphasis. And hopefully next year, if Ben Johnson sees a receiver drop the ball, he just takes them out. I don't care if you're DJ Moore, I don't care if you're Roma Dunze, blah, 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 get the fuck out. Because if you're not going to catch the ball, well, then I'll just go find somebody else on the roster that will. That's the type of coach. See, that's what I'd be doing. If you can't go out there and you can't catch, you have better luck and go outside and maybe we'll just switch you to play defensive back, or are you just going to be set? Roma Dunze talked about in his exit interview with the media. I respect Roma Dunze for admitting that he knows he didn't do enough. He got off to a hot start and then he cooled off and then he just was cold. The moment he started dropping passes, boom, it was over. And he said he feels like he let the team down and he feels like he didn't do enough. He damn right he didn't do enough. He kept catching the passes. His drop essentially could maybe have turned the outcome of the game, change the outcome of that game. Maybe, and guess what? You don't go for it on that fourth down, which has which has Bears fans up in arms of why he just didn't take the points on that first drive. Well, guess what, Bear fans? If your damn receiver, your top 9 draft pick in Roma Dunze, if he catches the touchdown, you're not crying about freaking Ben Johnson going for it on fourth down in that situation. Because guess what? You get the touchdown, not 3 points. Now, I do believe at that point you should just take the points and just get some momentum. But my God, Roma Dunze's got to be better. I said it in my overview with my Uncle Daryl. If he cannot take the next step, year 3 is going to be big for him. Year 3 is going to be big for him because that's going to determine if he's going to be able to get that second contract. Because the Bears invested highly in him. They passed up other needs to get this guy because, one, he's Caleb's best friend, and they feel like they needed to give Caleb some help. And if he comes out here next year with the same old bullshit where he's dropping passes, well, then I guess what? He's a bust. I'm not wasting my time with a wide receiver that can't do his job and catch the fucking football. He's more hands-centric and better with his hands in college than he is in the NFL. He's a good receiver, a really good receiver, who I think can be a great receiver. But the number one thing he needs to do is he needs to start catching the ball better. So he needs to take his time off, go home, and then guess what? Get back in the swing of things, and guess what? Go catch some passes. Whether that's hitting Caleb up and saying, hey, man, let's go do some routes on air. Let's even go into the complex, do routes on air, and catch the football. That last playoff game, still enough, because I think Ben Johnson knows if we make half those catches in that playoff game against the Rams, we win that game. but everybody had Butterfingers. So that's a point. That's a point on emphasis that I think you can 100% say that that's the thing there, right? So that's the thing. Ben Johnson says he 100% believes in Caleb Williams, so that's good to hear. That's the thing. That's the thing that you like to hear. So yeah. He also talks about the stuff for 20 going into 2026. He already called last season, which is crazy. He basically said, "Look, just because we had a good year last year doesn't mean anything. It means Jack Staley squad. We're back at ground zero. We're back at 0-0. We're back of we haven't done shit. We haven't proven anything yet. So, look, yeah, we had a good year, but that's not going to translate into what happened last year isn't going to translate into this year. We can equally go out there next year and not be a good team." I'm glad that Ben Johnson said that and he acknowledged that because he knows, look, man, as quick as we had a great season, as quick as, it turns around the following season, we can easily just be bad again. So, guess what? The players know what's to be expected once they come back. And guess what? That only means these players, if you want to get back to where you were at, you're not only going to work, you got to work even harder than you did last year. So, everything you did last year, you got to do a step above that. You got to go beyond what you did last year. And that's what Ben Johnson is communicating. That's basically a warning to the players saying, hey, man, if you're on this roster, you're going to be back here. And you're going to be back here, get ready. You need to go better than that. So that's looking at the Rome Odunzes. You got to get better than what you gave me last year. Even Caleb Williams, get me better. And Caleb Williams said like he's going to work on his things in the offseason to get better. So there's that. Um, So basically, look, Ben Johnson said what he did say. I think the number one highlight that he did say 100% was that the receivers better get ready. But receivers need to catch the football, and then obviously building off the Caleb Williams line, how he believes in Caleb Williams, and then also too about look, man, there is no building off. We got to go out there and we got to go take it, and we got to go out there and we got to go prove to the world again that what happened last year was not fluke. Then Ryan Poles came up, and albeit, like I said, Ryan Poles is kind of timid. It's like he gets nervous at the press, at the podium. So, yes, he addressed some topics. He addressed the Kevin Byard topic, saying that he would like to have Kevin Byard back. I think we can all agree that we would like to have Kevin Byard back. And not only Ryan Poles, but Ben Johnson did make a mention. Like, there are going to be tough decisions when they're gonna go and evaluate the roster, these players, the needs of this team that they have to get fixed, for this team to get better. And on top of it, again, the tough decisions, sacrificing and giving up and basically letting some players walk or trading some players or even cutting some players. Because again, like I said, the Bears have a lot of free agents, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that they got to make decisions on. And they got to be like, oh yeah, who's coming back, who's not coming back. I think between Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker, I think I'm bringing Kevin Byard back. And I like Jaquan Brisker. He may go elsewhere and he may play better. And he may play like the way he played in the divisional round. But time and time again with Jaquan Brisker, he didn't do good. It just wasn't enough. He wasn't good enough. And maybe that's because the injuries and things like that. But again, Jaquan Brisker, I think the best game of his career was that Rams game. I don't know what the hell happened, but he played like a guy that played like it was every down with his last play, and he knew like, hey, I'm gonna leave it all on the field. So win or lose, I'm gonna leave it all out. I'm gonna give it my all. Jaquan Brisker did that, and I respect Jaquan Brisker for doing that. But that's just one game out of a tiny few games where he played really good. And it would suck to have him go, but Jaquan Brisker, you make the case he is a replaceable piece. You can replace a Jaquan Brisker. There's too many times where I thought Jaquan Brisker talked too much. Just keep your mouth shut, play your game, and things like that. Jaquan Brisker's a great player, but I don't think the Bears will bring him back. The only way I see the Bears bring him back is on a 1-year prove-it deal of saying, hey, man, give us another year where you can stay healthy and you can play really good football week to week. And I just don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to go elsewhere. Ryan Poles was brought up about what was did talk a bit about the defensive line. He did talk about, how there were some ascending players in Shamar Turner and then they got hurt. He talked about some of the dudes that he did see growth from, but at the same time, he does know, like, hey, look, we gotta make some improvements. And they did, and the reporters did ask him about Max Crosby. And look, Ryan Poles, even though he did smirk a bit, he did also make the mention, like, look, we not only got to look at all avenues of not only how is this acquisition or certain things are going to affect us in the short term, but how is this going to affect us in the long term? Again, it adds to the conversation that there's going to be a lot of tough decisions that Ben Johnson, the coaching staff, and Ryan Poles and the other front office staff members are going to have to make when it comes to building the 2026 roster. We said it time again. Me and my uncle said it time and time again. Some of these players on this team are not going to be here next year. Whether that's because they just weren't good enough, whether it is they don't have a place on the roster anymore, and then two, just the money factor. The Bears got to relieve a lot of cap space. They want to make moves in free agency, especially if it's to improve the defensive line. So, that's going to be a lot of tough decisions that the Bears are going to have to make. Ryan Poles did make a mention about, because they asked him, like, so, the way the Bears won. Ryan Poles did say, like, look, it is what it is. If it gets us to win games, it's fine, but I'd rather not be on the side where it's every week where it's like, geez Louise, it's coming down to the last minute and it's cardiac Bears. I absolutely echo the same. I want more games next year where we win convincingly, and it's like, okay, yeah, we win this game convincingly, and we don't have to worry about it. But Ryan Poles did say, look, man, close games are a good thing for this team because, again, it builds resiliency, it builds character. You cannot tell me without a shadow of a doubt, all the close wins the Bears had early in the season did not help this team later. It helped this team later on to the tail end of the season because when the going got tough, unlike what they did last year, where the going, or even previous years, when the going got tough, they just gave up. When the going got tough and they faced adversity, they overcame said adversity and they said, no, we can do this. We can find something to get here. And that's what these close games early on. So those games, even if we were playing a bad Raiders team, finding a way to beat the Raiders the way we did, finding a way to overcome the Commander stuff. So many close of these close games where you're living on the edge and you pull it out. It only not only gives belief in the fans, it gives belief in the players that no, we are not the same old Chicago Bears. We're not what we were last year under Eberflus. We can win these games. And ever since we got Caleb Williams, we've been in these close games. Last year it just didn't work out. This year it did work out, with the exception of a few times. With the exception of the first Packer game, the 49ers game, and then the Rams game. And outside of that, and then the Lions game too. Outside of that, you won damn nearly almost every close game you had on the season. Oh, and the Vikings game in the first week too. So only about four instances where you didn't come through in these critical situations. Plain and simple. And that's a good thing because it builds character, it builds resiliency, and it builds a mindset. Now that's something that can stick over, especially for the players that are coming back next year. Ryan Poles talked about DJ Moore. He said he didn't care about the stats. All he cared about was winning. We have a lot of decisions to make. His toughness rubbed off on our team. If they were dinged up, they almost had to play because he was playing. And again, you respect DJ Moore for that. But again, at the same time, Ryan Poles did clarify, look, we got to make tough decisions. And a tough decision may be we got to let go of DJ Moore. And maybe Ben Johnson already had this conversation. Antoine Randall had this conversation. Hey, we'll evaluate all options and everything with you. But look, we can't have what we saw. Like even Ben Johnson, when he talked about that play, he said, I haven't had time to watch it because I've been in extra interviews. I guarantee you, whenever he watches, whether that was tonight or whenever he sees it, he's going to say, this is unacceptable. We can't have him come back for all the toughness he did show. We can't have him come back if he's going to be lazing around on routes. And again, like I said, this isn't the first time he's done this. So, look, altogether, the press conference was good. Ryan Poles and Brian and Ben Johnson, they basically said like, look, we got to make these tough decisions. We got to evaluate the options, and we got to get into the process, and we got to do what we got to do. So the Bears know what they got to do. They know they have the mindset. I love Ben Johnson's mindset of knowing like, look, it's all over. It's all back to zero again. Because just because we went out there and had a great season last year, it doesn't really mean anything. It's not going to translate into something next year. Because as easily as we were first place and we got so far the way we did, it's just as easy as going back down to the bottom barrels of the NFC North and being basically trash. But I think for now, the Bears have earned Bears fans benefit of the doubt. They can earn the benefit of the doubt. Again, like I said, my opinion is make your moves, do what you need to do, improve where you know you need to improve at, which is mostly the defensive line, and get ready for next year and improve. Also, too, it looks like the Bears may have to go potentially go find a left tackle with Ozzy Trapillo because he did make Ryan Poles did talk about some injuries, mentioning that especially Ozzy Trapillo mentioning there is no timetable for his return. He hopes to come back sooner rather than later, but he doesn't know. But they already had a surgery. It's a no Sue had a surgery. Jalen Johnson, he had something come up with his wrist. But now that obviously the season's over, Jalen Johnson can heal up, and we'll see if Jalen Johnson's back next year. But that's the thing there, right? So the Bears have a lot of moves to make. Very impressed with the press conference today from Baron Johnson and Ryan Poles. And the Bears, like again, like I said, to end off the video, Bears know what they got to do. Address the problems in free agency, evaluate the roster, see who's going to be here, who's not going to be here. Go out there, make your improvements within the margins or whatever you can do, and set yourself up for 2026 to have another good year. We'll see if they can get back to the playoffs, and we can see if they can get back to the divisional round. The goal is, let's see, if anything, the goal is get back to the divisional round. Obviously, the goal is we got to win the division again because Ryan Poles' words when you got here, he did say we're going to take the North and we're never going to give it back. So hopefully, now that we took the North, hopefully we never give it back. And I understand the Lions, they'll be coming back. The Vikings will be coming back. We don't know what their situation, especially at quarterback, is going to be. It looks like Brian Flores may return, barring he gets a head coaching job from the Ravens or the Steelers. And then the Packers are going to be back, and they're going to be back with a vengeance to try to exact the revenge that they had at their expense. But don't worry, again, like I said, the Packers can come and fucking get it too. We'll beat their ass again. Because that's what they do. Because all I see is the Packers chirping. They go on all these outlets chirping, chirping, chirping. Don't worry, we'll see you next year. We'll kick your ass again, and then we'll send you back to Green Bay. And then you can go complain about how, oh, we lost again. Yeah, that's the thing. The first Green Bay game, we need to go out there and we need to beat their ass. And we need to prove to them that, oh, no. The shit from last year was not a fluke. This is a change in the guard. And you're not dominating us anymore. You guys are going to be the ones that are getting dominated. Anyways, the goal is win the division, get back to the playoffs, and get back to the divisional round and win the divisional round so you can get to the NFC Championship game. And then from there on, you'll see where you go. But I do have confidence the Bears can have another good year. I do have confidence the Bears can get back to the playoffs. Whether we win the division or not, we'll see. Because we do play in a very tough division. So, we'll see. Anyways, I'm going to get over, guys. If you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts. Hit that subscribe button if you want to get more Chicago Bears content on the channel. Again, any Chicago Bears news that comes out, I will talk about it when I have the chance to talk about it. If I don't talk about it when the moment happens, then typically I'm just going to get like an influx of news and just make it an all one big video. But any moves that the Bears make, I'll talk about it. Do I do mock drafts? No, I don't, because all I know is, guess what? Realistically, for me, for anybody that wants to know who I want the Bears to draft, is any of these defensive line dudes, especially any of these edge rushers like the dudes from Miami. Because we could use those guys. So, we'll see. Anyways, can I catch you guys in the next video? Till then, guys, stay safe out there. Have a great rest of your day or your night or when you're checking out this video. And I will catch you guys on the next Chicago Bears video. Till then, guys, peace.